All right. Have you heard about the conspiracy theories going on about how this whole thing was planned out?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So
I've
which ones
heard
have
a
you heard?
couple.
Which ones have you
Well,
heard?
I've heard that China made this whole thing up. Well, they didn't make this whole thing up, but that they started it um, based on like economic gains or something like that.
Hmm.
For that one, I've heard about the whole 5G thing. Like,
Okay.
oh, I honestly, I
Yes.
haven't done my proper research, so I wouldn't be the expert on this, but I've just heard about like the whole like how 5G is connected to coronavirus for like whatever reason. I've also heard from my mom and Facebook apparently that the government basically like made this whole thing up and that like people aren't actually getting sick and people are actually, not like this isn't happening for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's as far as I've heard from conspiracy theories. Um, what about you?
Well, I mean, that's interesting you bring up Facebook because so obviously, being bored out of my mind, I've gone on to Facebook a lot more than I would like to admit. And I don't follow as many people as I used to back in the day. So most of the people I follow on Facebook or have friended are family members, extended family members, really close friends, and their family for whatever reason.
Right.
So one of my friend's dad, he's always putting up these conspiracy theories locally. So I don't know. Obviously, for anybody that isn't local, so we have the Univision channel, right? Univision. So locally, they're always putting out articles of like, so and so, three people, diagnosed with COVID at this, etc. And
Yeah.
so my friend's dad will consistently comment, and you know how they have updated it since like when Facebook was first, our thing, I guess, way back in the day. They've updated to where comments, especially of like, your friends, are highlighted so that when you're scrolling through, they'll show whatever they commented on and then highlight the comment of the person that you have as a friend. And so I'll see my friend's dad and his comments going on about this is fake, this is all made up, they're just trying to scare us, etc. And I'm just like, okay, I mean, possibly. And when I scroll on the comments, they have conversations among themselves of like, where's the proof? What hospital? Show me this, show me that. They're just trying to get
Yeah.
views. And and like, to me, I think it's more of a sense of like wanting to find a way to deal with all of this, that like, it's just gotten to a point where like at some point you have to also entertain yourself, but also like, what, like, is this really true? You start questioning it. And I know, like, I don't know if recently if you've seen, there's a lot more people out and about.
Yes. I actually, so I went to Walmart today and now there's a line, so now you have to wait. But the point of like having a line and you having to stand in line to like get in is so that there's not a lot of people inside of the stores, right? So to
Right.
avoid to like have more social distancing and stuff. But there was like a crowd of people like waiting for the cashiers and stuff. So there was like a group of people, like a ton of people. Whereas
Yeah.
when they didn't have lines, people were more spread out and there was like more movement. But now that they have this, it's like it defeats the purpose of like like these lines, because in reality what they're doing is they're just crumpling people up in a certain area, but I mean it defeats the purpose of social distancing. So yeah, I have seen a lot more people out and about. I think people are just getting tired of it. Like, I mean, I'm getting tired of it, but at the same point, like at the same idea, it's like you still have to be cautious and preventative. You can't just be like, okay, just because it's been a long time, like doesn't mean that it's not going to affect me anymore. I think people are just not reasoning, and they're just being a little selfish.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and I think, obviously it comes down to like, coping with this situation. Personally, I've found myself diving more into the content that I'm making. And with that comes more struggle of like this, for example. I don't know how I was gonna make this go off, and we'll see how this
Yeah,
goes. But like, I've gotten invested into my projects more just as a way to deal with stuff. But I know not everybody wants to be productive right now, and it's hard to be productive right now with everything going on. And I think one of the things I've mentioned to a lot of people recently is like, you're everybody deals with stress differently, and
yeah,
at some point, yeah, we do want social distancing to happen, but I also understand how some people are tired of being at home and etc. Just being
Yeah.
sort of like that feeling of like being locked down, but at the same time, like, we got to watch out for each other and not spread this thing around. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the beginning people were like taking it as a joke, and I think people are still taking it as a joke, and I still don't understand how people are so like oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes down to like, just that group of people and having that mentality, like the protests that have been going on about like
Oh
I
yeah.
think in Michigan or something like that, like they're starting to like go out and do all these things and protest to like have the state open up again, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I understand your frustration and I understand where they're coming from, that a lot of people do need to start working because of financial stuff and whatever, but they're
Yeah.
not being considerate of others, and they're just, I mean, honestly, to me it just comes down to being a little selfish. Like, yes, I understand your needs, but at the same time you're not thinking like in long terms. You're thinking like right now, right now, right now, and you're not thinking of like, okay,
Yeah.
we have to do social distancing now so that in the future we don't have to do it even more for even a
Yeah.
longer time. But people don't understand.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
No, I mean, I get
But
that. I think I'm in the same boat too. I'm starting to realize, like, well, at the beginning, I remember like the week before everything started shutting down, people were like hearing about how like, oh, we might go into lockdown, and so people were going into groceries, and like the parking lots were filling up fast of a bunch of people. And I
mm-hmm.
remember I made a trip to Albertsons that week before, and I snapped it to my friends and was like, damn, dude, like the apocalypse is starting. Like, look how many people are here. And I was like, oh, it was a joke. I was like, there's no way it's that serious. And literally the next week, school's getting canceled. I can't go back to school, etc. And I think all of that hit me pretty quick, where it's like, well, shoot, this is actually pretty serious. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I think to some people it still hasn't hit them the situation
Yeah,
that we're in, because
yeah.
I'm
I can
pretty
name
sure there's
I can name a handful.
exactly, like I'm pretty sure there's people that haven't had to change up their routine that much to the extent where it's like, oh, like everything's in lockdown. But like I ordered some food the other day and I picked it and I want to go pick it up at a local restaurant, and seeing how like there's like nothing there and like there's no one, just people coming in to pick up stuff and leaving. It's crazy to look at how fast everything shut down and where we are right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is crazy, and it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, I think we have to do the best that we can right now, so we don't have any further, longer, long-term things that we have to do in the future.
Yeah.
But who knows?
It's the 5G. It's
Uh,
getting to us. It's getting to us, dude. This
Wait, so,
5G.
so what? What were the conspiracy theories that you heard?
Well, I mean, it was all the ones on Facebook, but also the 5G one, which I find extremely hilarious. From my time working at AT&T, I think it's just how people have made the association that 5G came out not that long ago, and thus it can only mean that that's why we have the COVID. But like, it's just something so strange yet so like conspiracy theory like, because there were other conspiracy theories about 5G, and there were some effects about 5G that try to work out. But it's just funny to me how like forget all, like basically what people did were like forget about every other conspiracy theory we've come up with and like in regards to 5G. Let's just it's 5G COVID, it makes sense. And so that's really been the conspiracy theory I've heard the most. But I mean, obviously, some people, like you've mentioned with the protests, some people are getting tired of it. I mean, Florida opened up their beaches this weekend. Texas is opening up tomorrow. Probably not the two states that usually when we talk about Florida and Texas, a bunch of memes come out of it. But it's like, this is something serious because, like, if this works out, then like other states are going to start opening it up. And I mean, if that's the direction we're heading for, then I mean, I'm glad, but also
Yeah,
if they open up and things hit and stuff hits the fan, we're going back to stage zero.
lockdown for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. I mean, do you think it's a smart idea to open up? Because I feel like it wasn't even that long ago when they first locked down the beaches, right, in Florida. Because
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
Florida,
the spring break story, all the spring breakers that went down to Miami. And that's about 10 minutes. Let's wrap it up here. But all the spring breakers that went to Miami were like the one interview of the one guy. I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about. The college student that like went on TV and they interviewed him. Like, how do you feel about being in Florida during the coronavirus? And all he had to say was, "Oh, I mean, if it gets me, it gets me." And then, like, I think a couple days later, the article comes out that a bunch of spring breakers had gotten the virus, and it was like, well, shoot,
Yeah.
like, I guess it
But
happened.
I also think that at that time, like it was just starting to spread so much, and the belief was that it wasn't so many like young people, it was more the older people. Come to find out, it was like, yeah, a lot of the people who were mostly having it and going through like these really hard times at the hospital were like between 30 and 20-year-olds or something like that. And so then people were like, okay, like this is getting bad, so that's why they closed the beaches and stuff, right?
Yeah, something like that. Around, yeah. Then, yeah, it started settling in that younger people could also get it. It's
Yeah,
interesting how all that happened. But it's
I
10
think it just
minutes.
comes to show how entitled this generation is becoming. Um, but yeah, so that was 10 minutes.
That's 10 minutes. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Appreciate you coming through, really. And if you want part 2 of this conversation, let me know. Like this video because I think it's YouTube. But yeah.
Comment, subscribe.